Welcome to Gillian and Chantal's Swim-the Solent 2024 podcast, episode 2. This time we consider how we are going to fuel our swimming, a little bit about safety and navigation during the swim, some tips and stories of our sea swimming wildlife encounters, a few watery words of wisdom, and lots more. So here we go. They've been asking me to swim sort of at odds or at right angles to the current, but I almost feel, even though I'm sure I'm straight, if anyone's looking at me swimming, I almost feel like my body's bent in a right angle. I almost like from my hips, I'm bent at 90 degrees because I can feel the force of the current and I'm having to battle it. That is actually sometimes what you have to do.
Right.
Swimming straight's going to get you nowhere. In fact, it might put you back.
So linked to that thing that I was saying, there is one other thing which I realized afterwards. I didn't realize at the time, but I realized afterwards that when I got to the shoreline and I was exhausted, I was sat down in a chair with lots of robes on me and everything else. And I realized that I'd only had 800 milliliters of water. Luckily, I had like this gel or whatever before I went, like for electrolytes, but that's all I'd had. And then this bottle where I had actually prepared 3 liters, for me to drink. But that's something I was going to ask you, because as I was drinking, I thought I was drinking, but I couldn't see how much I was drinking, and it was difficult to drink from it. So are there like special bottles that can kind of help you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually use toddler sippy bottles
Okay.
because for two reasons. They're really easy to handle when you're tired and your hands are a bit clumsy, but the ones I have a kind of a sturdy handle on them that I can attach to a line, and that can be attached to the kayak, so there's no risk of them getting.
Oh, okay.
And again, I think you're better nearly to have 2 or 3 smaller ones because again, they're easier to handle. And again, if one of them gets spoiled or somehow comes away from the boat, that you have contingency there. So I line up a few little bottles. Again, your kayaker, you can, I mean, they, with the best will in the world, they mightn't remember, but you can say to them, look, can you nudge me to have this amount of water or gel or whatever it is you choose as your fuel at certain time points.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a few things that can help you to remind yourself. So when you're swimming from one side to the other, you have to cross a busy shipping channel, which can
Okay.
sometimes mean a little bit of a break while they wait for the traffic literally to go.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's quite an exciting bit of the swim, actually.
Oh, really? I didn't know that happens.
Yeah, so
Wow.
there's just a middle bit, and because of safety concerns, they try to make sure there's at least maybe 6 swimmers grouped together, so they don't have to stop the traffic too
Right.
often. It's like,
Right. Makes sense.
so you could, well, for me, I never really get a big break because I'm usually one of the last ones, but it's a mental break to say, actually now I need to have something, and again, you kind of have to make progress across the shipping channel, so it's a good time to have something kind of coming
Right.
up to the point, or even an hour in, because usually the shipping channel, you're hitting it around an hour, have something. I suppose a little bit about the science. So, I'm a dietitian by trade, and
Yes.
sports nutrition is sort of, I would say, more than a hobby. It's a bit of a fascination. It's not what I do for a living, but
Uh-huh.
I'm certainly very invested in it. And I suppose some of the facts that are a bit nerdy, but can be really useful to remember, are around what kind of energy stores we actually hold and how quickly they're used up. So
Okay.
average body. So I probably am a little bit less, and you're more of an average size, so it probably applies more to you. But the average body holds on to about 400 grams of what we call glycogen, which is just a complicated word for how the body stores starch, stores
Okay.
glucose. Basically, that's your preferred source of energy when you're doing these kinds of activities. Now, what
Okay.
does that mean? What does 400 grams mean? Well, in terms of your activity, if to give you an example, somebody who's an elite athlete and is sort of running at a very high pace, or again, the football, doing a 90-minute match,
Uh-huh.
that kind of pace of sprint and sort of rapid movement will expend about 90% of your glycogen store. So 90% of that 400 grams
Wow.
over 90 minutes. Now, as swimmers, we're more like usually somewhere in the middle, and
Okay.
particularly as sort of swimmers for fun. We're not elite athletes. Well, I'm not, and so we're probably more in the base in the region of 40 to 50% of your glycogen stores over 90 minutes. So if you
Okay.
think that, that's about maybe 200 grams of carbohydrate over 90 minutes. Now, the other thing to remember is if you've got enough in your tank to go for 3 hours, right? So if
Uh-huh.
we 400 grams, just to bring the science back down to simple terms, we actually have enough power on board to do us about 3 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I'm telling you that is to give you the reassurance that you don't actually have to fuel. You do need to use some liquids, but again, it's not as much as you think, because in water, you're not sweating as much. And so what that all boils down to, and what's worked for me, and it really is a case of what works for you rather than anybody else. I think I started off with a very rigid plan the first time I swam this. I had a decent meal about 2 hours before. I made sure I had a bottle of Lucozade Sport 30 minutes before. I doggedly had an energy gel about every 45 minutes, and I drank plenty of fluids. And that was all grand. I felt good at the end, but I kept having to stop. Whereas the most recent time I did it, I actually didn't, I just trusted myself a little bit more. I think I might have had 2 stops over probably nearly 3 hours. And the second one was definitely a comfort stop. I could see the end, and I was just like, yeah, I think I feel like it. I'll have a stop. It wasn't a necessary stop.
Right.
Well, the message I'm trying to give to you is that fueling in fluids, as long as you've done the homework before, as long as you've had a decent meal the night before, a decent breakfast if time allows it, and half an hour before something like a gel or an isotonic drink, then you have your drinks on board, but don't feel that you have to keep sipping away. And again, it's trial and error. If you've, again, even thinking back to your 5 hours, if you managed pretty well and you weren't in bad shape coming out of the water, that gives you some testament to the fact that actually you were managing quite well without a lot.
I didn't know if that was maybe why I was feeling so sick.
No, I would say like the thing that is kind of humorous about swimming is that actually you can get very motion sick.
Okay.
I can tell you, because I was in the water with you that last hour, it was choppy. And the worst part about it was the people on the beach, because of the direction of the wind, all they could see was smooth sea. For us, looking back from the island, because the wind was against us, there was just big mounds of waves. They weren't huge, but they were enough.
Yes,
I'm sure the people on the beach were looking, going, "It's keeping them. The sea is like a mirror." But it really
just over there.
It wasn't a bit like a mirror from where we were looking. That sort of motion sickness is really typical, is very common. And the worst thing you can do with that is to bring in sort of nutrition tricks and tactics that you haven't tried and tested before.
Right, okay.
Like that. Because already your tummy is going to be a bit fluttery because you're nervous. And if you're going to take in sort of those kinds of gels and things, the biggest tip of all is to make sure you've trialed them beforehand in a similar, keep them for race day, because, different products will suit different people and will make different people feel unwell. Like I've seen people too quickly, and within 20 minutes, they've all come back up.
Wow, goodness.
Their system hasn't tolerated them. The system hasn't become accustomed to them. It's something new. Their tummy's already a bit up and down because they're nervous. And maybe putting on a bit more speed than they normally would, which again takes all blood supply away from your stomach. It sends it out to the limbs where it's needed.
True.
So when your tummy is lacking in a blood supply, it doesn't work as efficiently as it might. And so it says, no, thank you. And the food comes right back out.
Yeah, exactly. No. And I think the final question that I'm going to ask is, that when I went swimming, I had little seals who were nibbling at my toes. So I was just wondering if you had any strange experiences from any of your 6 swims, any encounters maybe with wildlife or anything.
It's a very good question, and I'm going to answer it carefully. I think, firstly, I've never really come across anything like much in the way of seals, or I've seen dolphins.
Oh, you have? Wow.
The other thing that's happening, if you can imagine, wildlife probably isn't that enticed into the area we're swimming. It's a busy shipping channel, but it's also a very busy recreational channel. So there's lots of little yachts and sort of day boats whizzing around. But the other thing about this event, which hopefully again will reassure you, is that it's really it's really locked down in terms of safety. So you can almost imagine if you had a drone, and in fact one of the guys had a drone one year and you could see it. The swim actually operates in almost a virtual diamond. Yeah. At each corner of the diamond, if you can imagine, you will have a safety boat. And then you've all your kayakers and swimmers in the middle. So we can't see, they're imaginary lines. But basically that formation is held the whole way across. And all of the other vessels, be they commercial or leisure yachts or anything else at all, jet skis is another favorite.
Oh, right, yes.
They are prohibited from entering the diamond.
Oh, okay. It's
like a big virtual moving swimming pool moving across the diamond. And it's only us and our crew and our safety people that are allowed in that diamond.
Wow.
And they take it really seriously. The local harbour master is involved.
Wow.
And you know, you do see situations, you'll hear it sometimes, blue lights if people are infringing the diamond. It's
Right.
it's
Okay.
well organized. So, you know, I think for that reason, probably, and having said that, it's not that it's not a peaceful swim, but you don't get I don't think you'll have seals nipping at your feet.
Right. No, that's good. But not that I want seals nipping at my feet. So
I think
jellyfish,
that's
though,
the
I'm
one off.
assuming. What's
The
it
one thing
like
I
with
would say
jellyfish?
to you, jellyfish, I've only ever come across one or two, to be honest. And
Okay.
the kayaker is your friend there. A good kayaker, and they're all good kayakers, will probably spot them because they can see them
Okay.
maybe 2 meters ahead of where you're swimming, and they'll
Right.
tell you to go left or right around them.
Okay. Okay.
And I've certainly never come across anything sinister in
Okay.
the water
That's good.
anyway. They can freak you out a little bit by the look of them, but nothing that's actually going to hurt you. The only other tip I would say, just about wildlife in the water, and that doesn't necessarily apply to the Solent, but when you go swimming, and if you don't want to attract all manner of beasts, make sure you've nothing sparkly or iridescent on you.
Okay.
Make sure, like, even earrings, rings, I wouldn't wear them anyway, but they do attract, the sparkle will attract fish, otters. If you're in the river, it'll attract whatever. So, you know, a general rule of thumb is to try to sort of be not you can wear bright colors. In fact, it's advised to wear bright colors in terms of your swimsuit or your gear,
Uh-huh.
need your hat. But anything sparkly like jewelry, definitely take it off, because and even I would say down to nail varnish, I wouldn't wear sparkly nail varnish,
No.
because sure that the seals would find that great fun.
Yes. They would. Woo. I wonder what this is coming into our waters. Well, what a fantastic start to our session, to us embarking upon our challenge, which is, I think you know how many days to go?
Well, that's a good question, Chantal, because again, one of the things that you and I have talked about before is this element of control. So one of the exciting things about the Solent swim is that until very close to the day, the exact time and session that you'll swim isn't revealed. And there's reasons for that. It really does come down to the weather. The weather's watched very carefully. So you'll know we're hoping to swim on the Monday or Tuesday,
Yes.
in the first instance, and the weather conditions all being well. And that is 29 days from today.
Okay.
But we also know that if the weather conditions don't work out, you and I have made sure we're down for the reserve days, which are the Wednesday and Thursday. So
Yes.
over those 4 days, we'll get enough of a weather window to get everybody across. I think the plan at the moment is that there are 4 swims scheduled. And just to give you a picture, they usually only have a maximum of 12 swimmers on any one of those legs. So
Oh,
that means
fantastic.
a maximum of 48 swimmers, I think, this year. And what they're going to do this year is to make sure that the swimmers are grouped in terms of the time expected for completion.
Brilliant.
So, as other years, what they've done is that the swimmers have been allowed to select their slot, which is nice for logistics and planning your travel. But actually, I think they're right in terms of both safety and enjoyment, to swim with people who are more your tribe, you know, swim the way you swim, the pace you swim. We might actually enjoy it quite a bit more. But the caveat is you have to relinquish control over exactly when you're going to swim. So you and I will have to just bear with that. And again, we're planning to be down there well in
Yes.
advance, and be there for the duration so that we can be flexible around that.
Yay! I'm so excited because I've
Yeah.
seen where we're going to be staying, at least a picture of it, so it looks great.
And the
Yeah.
Isle of Wight itself is a great place to go. It's a lovely holiday destination. The pace of life is just gorgeous over there. It's
Wow.
amazing, so close to the mainland, and a very busy mainland. And yet, as soon as you step on that island, it just feels slower, friendlier, just your proper holiday mode. So
Wow. So looking forward to it. So
yeah.
29 days to go, and we will be speaking again soon about all sorts of things that pop into our head and how we're getting on with our training. So fantastic. Thank you for listening. Any thoughts, Gillian, of what you want to say?
Just keep swimming, I suppose. I mean, that's as good a saying as any. And remembering, you know, I mean, I have a good pal who actually, Mel Barrett, she's an ex-Paralympic swimmer. She has very limited sight. She's legally blind, but she's a champion. And she came and joined swimmer friends of mine in the Midlands a couple of years ago, seeking out some advice about how to transition from the pool into open water. She took to it literally like a duck to water, if you could excuse the pun. And her sight doesn't stop her doing anything. Anyway, Mel, roll on a couple of years, and Mel is now actually going to hopefully swim the English Channel this year as a soloist. She's a
Wow.
huge talent, particularly with her sight issues, and that's a whole other story. I'd encourage you to follow her. She's on the socials, but she's a lovely person as well. But anyway, getting back to last words, she has a lovely saying that she kind of reminds herself of as she gets into the water. And what she says to herself is, remember that one day you may not be able to do this, but this is not that day. And then
That's brilliant.
I hang on to that, because there's days when I go in, Chantal, and I might feel a bit tearful because I just don't believe strongly enough that I can do this. Even though, as you say, the evidence suggests I've been here a few times, but I still don't always believe in it. And I think, remembering that, this isn't that day. Today I'm going to do it.
Yes, exactly. What a perfect place to end. We will be back with you soon. Thank you, Gillian.
Sure. Great to see you,
Thank
Chantal.
you. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording. Stay tuned for further episodes to come.